What is that? It can't be. No. There's no way. $15 gallons a minute? No. No. Whoa. Center pivot. A combobulator. Flux capacitor. No. This is what I think it is. This is cheating. This is an irrigation system. Oh well. Let's turn it on and, well, let's run through the sprinkler. We ain't in Kansas anymore, or I should say, we're not near home anymore. We're doing something new today. We are on some irrigated land here for Replenish nutrients. It's so wet at home, we can't even get anywhere near a field. Our driveway's even a muddy mess. So Replenish Nutrients is putting in a plot here on some irrigation ground that they own, and they asked us to be a part of it. They're gonna take their test plots down to hay now and do some testing on hay. So kind of fits the purpose of this new drill, and well, we can't be turning a wheel at home, so we came out here for a couple days. As you saw in one of the last videos, one of our agronomists, Andrew Clements with Premium Ag, was out at our field when we were getting going with our first intercropping job with the drill. So there's other drills in the area that could do it, but obviously we got a good relationship with Premium Ag and Replenish Nutrients, and they want it done with this drill. I never thought I'd be seeding research plots and test plots. That's something we kind of tinker with at home, but this is pretty darn official. So watch this, check this out, guys. It's pretty impressive here. We're relying on all this technology. Some people, cringe at the thought of relying on electronics, but man, we couldn't be doing what we're doing here today without it. This no-till drill, even in this stubble, it's hard to tell where you've been. And we're running within inch accuracy, so repeatable inch accuracy. And from where we finished off yesterday to where we continue on here today, we have no overlap. Every row of the drill or pass with the drill is within an inch of where it needs to be. So very precise seed placement. It puts it into perspective back in the day when farmers had to do this manually or have markers on their drill, and they kind of had to eyeball where they were. So they were either going to have a miss where they were too far away from their previous pass, or they were overlapping, and overlapping costs money. The plants won't yield as good because there's too many plants per square foot, too much plant density, or with too much overlap, you're just purely throwing money out the window. So when it comes to chemical, spray, fertilizer, all those inputs like seed that cost a lot of money, you want to be bang on accurate. So we're succeeding in that with today's technology. We like to embrace technology. We feel it lets us get ahead. But just speaking of that, people we're even using my smartphone here today. We are seeding 2 different blends of grass. As you can see, this is a 206 acre field that has 2 irrigation pivots on it. And you can see where the irrigation lands. So there is what's called irrigated acres and dryland acres. So in the corners of the field. And what we're doing is we are not seeding into the dryland acres, and we're using just something as simple as satellite imagery from Google to show the difference in the irrigated acres versus non-irrigated acres. We're coming up to a pretty large depression, a concave little coulee that runs through this hill. What I've been wanting to try with the new drill is how well it contours the ground when you're bridging, so when you're going through a hole. Our last drill was significantly shorter in length than this one. So this is quite a long drill. The wheels are at the very back. So just seeing how we're here and we got to seed the rest of the headlands, I'm gonna go perpendicular to the contour of the ground here, and when the drill openers are in the very bottom of the contour of the ground, I want to see how much down pressure they still have. All right, so first observation is that guide wheel is a little bit off the ground. They do float with the contour of the ground, but as you'll see in some of the other drone imagery, look at how high that main frame is off the ground right now. That's quite that's quite a ways. The seed tubes as well. These opener arms are quite vertical, but here's the test. These black gauge wheels on a no-till drill and some other types of disc drills, the active downforce, we are only applying 20%, 25% actually, down pressure to those wheels. We want those wheels to control the depth of the seed boot and the seed delivery mechanism. So if we buried those in the ground, the seed would go too deep. So we're aiming at those just being firm. We want those to gently spin by hand. Grab onto it with a good hand and see if they spin. So that is exactly the amount of down pressure. There's even actually a little bit more on that one. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that one has got very little, but it's in a bit of a divot. This one's got just a hair less than ideal. Let's check the other side of the drill. But so far, this is following the contour of the ground, which a concave would be the hardest to follow. Convex is easy because there's actually more pressure on the openers as you go over the crown. Ow. Yeah, we have enough down pressure on those guide wheels to properly insert the seed boot into the ground. Hashtag impressed. That's pretty cool. Good job, Horsch. Some of you guys may laugh and say, David, you don't farm in hills. Well, we do, but they're not as big as some guys'. But there's a guy out there, Trevor Struthers, on YouTube, has got a YouTube channel, and that guy, he farms in some serious hills. I can't even believe the places they get their equipment. So if you want to see hills, if my hills don't satisfy you, go check out Trevor Struthers. I just moved the tractor 90 degrees from where it just was. Before we were traveling this way, so we were going down the crevasse and up the other side, so a concave hole. I never thought about it, but let's check this out. So now we're heading north, and we're in the gap. It looks like she takes up, I don't know, is it a boy or a girl? I don't know, but so far it looks like this drill does yoga in its spare time. It's flexible. Okay, so the test here, running north-south with the gap of the being in the center of the tractor or in the center of the toolbar. Let's see how much ground pressure is on the middle versus the outside of the toolbar. So starting here on the outside of the toolbar, and there's probably just a little more than I would like, but it's good. I can still turn it. If you can't turn those gauge wheels by hand, there's too much pressure. So yes, the very outside one, there was definitely a little bit more. I really had to grab a hold of it to turn it, but I still could. So not too much down pressure, but you could tell it was increased a bit. I'm gonna crawl under the drill now, turn one of the gauge wheels in the very center of the drill, or the center of the toolbar. Let's see if it's about the same down pressure. We're doing it. We're really doing it. As you can see, this is the undercarriage of the very first Horsch Avatar 8-meter machine in Canada. I betcha you could put that on the resume and get some street cred. That's a nice undercarriage. Anyway, while we're under here admiring the undercarriage, these gauge wheels, perfect down pressure actually. A hair more on that one. Yeah, just a hair more actually. Huh. So it's sensing that it needs more down pressure to satisfy the entire width of the toolbar. So some of them are a little bit on the tight side, but on average, they're either exactly where we want them or just a hair on the tight side. And well, tight's good, I guess. I'd rather that than not enough. So I should get back to work. This is Andrew Clements, which you met in the last video, business partner Matt Gosling, and Premium Ag here in Strathmore, Alberta. Thanks for the workout, by the way. It's been too wet for us to do anything at home by far. We can't turn a wheel if we wanted to. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. This 200-ish acre plot of irrigated land, you guys have been doing field trials alongside Replenish nutrients. So maybe give us a quick synopsis what you guys have done in relation to fertilizer regimes and this test plot in the past. It's about 6 acres, you were saying?
Yeah, so we've rented the 6 acres long term to do mostly nutrient trials and biological trials. There's a ton of products coming on the market, and I've seen it for years and years. The sales pitch of cut out all of this and use some of this and you'll grow the same crop. And short term, that's a great philosophy, but you're going to dig yourself a really big hole. So our intent when we started doing field scale work here, we left 4 check strips, about 6 acres big, where we skipped phosphorus completely. This will be the 6th year. So we've called phosphorus our career nutrient forever.
Yes.
Nitrogen's easy and reliable and abundant.
Phosphorus is the most neglected.
Most neglected and not applied near enough, especially on irrigated acres. For rough math, a bushel of canola is a pound of phosphorus. So you take out a 70, 80 bushel irrigated plus bushel canola crop and you're putting down 30 or 40 pounds. Every year, you're digging yourself a hole.
Yep.
So the first 2 years, we saw 0 yield response to 0 phosphorus. There was no yield detriment at all. So in those 2 years, we had a 100 bushel wheat crop and a 90 bushel pea crop. The 3rd year, we had a 15 to 30 bushel barley loss in the check strip. So the same thing we've done with Biosol, we wanted to replicate with Replenish in comparing a pound of phosphorus is a pound of phosphorus.
Yes.
Ammonium sulfate's the biggest sulfur product on the market. All we wanted to do with Biosol was compare a pound of sulfur to a pound of sulfur and save all the logistics. There's some salt index, there's some biological activity included with the compost. But phosphorus, we compared it to monoammonium phosphate, 1152.
Yes.
That's the biggest phosphorus player in the prairie market. So outside of the strips, we compared Replenish to phosphorus pound for pound to 1152. Sorry, no difference at all in 6 years of comparing those two products. Year 4 in the check strip, we had a 25 to 30 bushel canola loss. So we went from a $200 an acre financial loss in year 3 on the barley to a $500, $600 loss by neglecting phosphorus.
It's funny you say that about canola because a lot of people will always say, and I'm not an oilseed grower, I'm a forage guy, and I've just heard it several times, is a lot of people will say, I don't have good enough ground for canola. Right? And it's because they may have been, I hate to say mining, but maybe depleting the phosphorus in too high levels for too long.
If forage
Give it a
is
chance.
in a traditional forage geography, nutrition is, I can, this is a very broad statement because I'm sure there are good growers out there that fertilize their hay every year.
Yes.
But a ton of hay takes out 15 pounds of phosphorus and 50, 60 pounds of potassium.
1 ton.
1 ton.
1 ton of mixed grass hay. So to put that into perspective, why you guys have seen us use our PKNS nutrients from Replenish in the fall is we put them on pretty heavy in the fall and just our nitrogen in the spring to at least balance out, help increase that level. We're putting roughly 200 to 350 pounds down in the fall.
Balance.
Balance.
You nailed a very important word with that. And I've looked at soil tests for 20 years, tens of thousands of them. And I can pick out a hay soil test out of a farm fairly large size quite accurately because it's the one with the lowest P and for sure the lowest K.
Yes.
So if your yields are if you're gonna complain about your yields and you get the rain, take a soil test and figure it out.
Yes.
If you're taking something out, you got to put it back in. That's just the way it works.
Yes. And P isn't as leachable and won't volatilize the same way nitrogen will.
Right.
So when you're putting P, K, and S in your spoil, especially with P, you're investing in your ground. I'm not trying to tell you a sales pitch, but that's why we're doing it. Is you invest in the ground. That nutrient deposit is never going anywhere. You'd have to have serious erosion taking it off of your field in order for it to go.
Absolutely. So what we're doing with the small plot stuff, we will have amazing nutrient responses here. But I want to take all the claims of use this and cut out that, because we've cut out that being phosphorus.
Yes.
And nutritionally speaking here, it's not very strong in potassium either. So we've got 6 acres of absolute amazing real estate for doing research on
Yes.
to get a response.
Yes.
Because it takes 2 or 3 years. Like everything of what we do in agriculture, past maybe nitrogen and maybe seed populations, is a 1-year thing. And I can argue on both of those that that's a 2-year thing.
Yes.
But everything else, P, K, S, micros, rotation, it's a 3, 4, 5-year cycle.
Yes.
Or response, I guess. So we want to do things, the small plot will always have a fit in agriculture and the process of science. So I'm super excited about what we're doing with this on a piece that we've done large scale stuff on for so long and seeing amazing satellite, like we see this from space.
Yes, I've actually snooped on the Google satellite images and you can see your check strips. It's insane. And if you were to not have had the check strips and the high doses of PKNS, you would have thought, well, that's just an average field that fits into everywhere else. But when you see that dark green color and the vibrancy of that crop from space, there's a noticeable difference in yield. But we can probably talk about that till we're blue in the teeth.
Yeah.
Speaking of blue things, you've now bought a new plot drill. So maybe could you just show us around the drill real quick?
So underneath here, these are called sunflower openers. These packers kind of follow right in the furrow and make a really nice pack. They're super precise with their depth control. And then in the front row up here, so these guys are our fertilizer banders. We can move them to be right in the middle of each seed row. So we've got multiple ways to put down fertilizer and control our depth. And then up underneath that big black bag is our cone. That's where we can put very precise applications or treatments down. And then up here we've got a box that's split in two, half fertilizer, half seed. And everything is controlled by this chain.
We were just kind of joking around now that Theo has made his debut appearance on YouTube that he's going to be famous. And he said, well, he already is famous. And well, he's famous for a really good reason. So Theo in 2022 raised, you were 8 years old at the time, raised $6,300 for the Terry Fox Foundation campaign. So good job there, bud. You already are famous. You didn't need Farming Ain't Easy to help you with that.
Bye. But I still want to be on YouTube.
All right, well, we're all done seeding the irrigated hay acres with the blend that has a annual ryegrass as a cover crop. Nurse crop, as some would say, for the hay. That was seeded at 20 pounds per acre. And now we're going to use a very, very similar blend, but different ratio for the dryland corners. And we're going to be seeding that at 14 pounds per acre. Obviously, without the irrigation and the high yield factor, we can't, or the plants can't have as high of a plant density. So we're just going to recalibrate here real quick for a slightly different blend or ratio of the same grasses in alfalfa, and put it on at 14 pounds an acre, and we'll tidy up the dryland corners. And our first research plot of my life and farming career, she's in the books. Thank you guys for all the recent subscribers and all the comments and feedback. A lot of you guys have been reaching out to us, giving us some constructive feedback. We love that. Thank you very much. Giving us some video ideas for stuff that's coming. And we've already, coincidentally, we've got a couple of those videos in the queue already, so some of your prayers will be answered right off the bat. But thank you for the video ideas, and thank you for following us on Instagram at official Farming Ain't Easy. Thanks for all the love and support, guys. It means a lot.